Now, my first guest today is the Nigerian politician and former Minister of Information and Communications, Frank Nweke Jr., who is the All Progressives Grand Alliance or APGA governorship candidate in Enugu State. Mr. Nweke was, of course, also at some point Nigeria's Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs and Special Duties, as well as Minister of Youth Development and also Minister of National Orientation. So you could say that he's been around the federal ministerial bloc a few times. In addition to all that, Mr. Nweke was also at the state level the Chief of Staff to the Governor of Enugu State. And much later, after he left government, he became the Director General of the respected Nigerian Economic Summit Group, the economic think tank that brings the public and private sectors together. So what's he got to offer the people of Enugu State? And what does he think about the broader political developments on the national level? And I'm delighted to say that Frank Nweke Jr., governorship candidate for the All Progressives Grand Alliance or APGA in Enugu State, joins me now in the studio. Thank you so much for coming in. Long day for you. You've been
very, very long day.
You've been braving the Nigerian travel, but you made it, and we're very appreciative.
Thank you, Charles. Good to see you.
Lovely to see you. Let's start the way we normally begin, with all those who are running for elective office. Why do you want to be governor of Enugu State?
Thank you, Charles. It's always a pleasure to be with you. I want to be governor of Enugu State because I believe that I have what it takes to offer excellent service in that capacity as a governor. I believe that in my long years of public service, I have acquired tremendous capacity, and I believe that my education, my experience in the course of the various roles that you outlined at the beginning of the program, that one has had opportunity to really understand the workings of government. I've also had opportunity to really interact with people across levels within the state and then the federal level as well. And I have what I consider to be a very unique understanding of the challenges of development, the needs of our people, and the discipline required to really bring about change in Enugu State in particular.
Well, I mean, obviously we read out your considerable pedigree there on a national level. You know, you've been a federal minister several times over. We touched briefly on your experience on the state level. But I'm wondering, when it comes to that level and the village, sort of the level of village politics, I mean, how popular are you, and how experienced are you?
So thank you so much, Charles. Well, you abridged I think some of the roles that I had held before. Now, my first role in the government of Enugu State was as what I would call consultant to government on economic affairs. And I was part of a team of very distinguished professionals who were mobilized in 1999 to really engage in development planning for the government at the time. And I subsequently became the state coordinator of the Community County Council. This was a poverty alleviation initiative for rural communities, which took me around the then 209 communities in the state. There is no other politician that I know that had visited every autonomous community in the state as at that time. And that was the first time over a year and a half period thereabout that I came really face to face with the living conditions of our people. I saw firsthand the deprivation, I saw firsthand the needs, I saw firsthand the pain that our people go through in the course of their daily life. And I want to say that that was the first time actually that my inner feeling for public service was triggered, and it has remained etched in my memory. And I'm determined to really bring about improvements in the quality of life of our people at that level in particular, where most of our people actually live anyway.
Yes. Very interesting. But of course, we know that Nigerian politics, you know this as well as anyone else, is driven as much by the structures and the capacity of a political party as much as it is driven by the personality. and popularity of the candidates. I mean, how popular are you? And if you think you're popular, how can you accurately gauge that? I mean, you haven't conducted any scientific surveys and so on in the villages and towns of Enugu State, have you?
Well, thank you so much. You make very, very important points, and I want to say that I'm a household name in the politics of Enugu. I do not believe that there is any part of Enugu where I'm not known, where my name has never been heard. I've been part of the political class. I've been part of yes, I've been part of the political class. I've been part of the political process over a very prolonged period.
But your party, ABGA, hasn't cut it there, though,
well, the party ABGA is evolving, and but it is certainly the party to beat, as far as I'm concerned, given the extremely poor performance of the incumbent party in the state over time. You know, this party has performed very, very well. A water crisis persists in the state, across the entire state. Enugu State has never been as filthy as it is today, as it's been in the last 7 years. Youth unemployment, according to data by SBM Intelligence Services, has increased from about 18.7% in 2018 to about 31.7% as at 2020. So there is significant discontent within the state, and you look at the issue of security. Security has become a problem in Enugu. Nightlife has literally disappeared, and the state is also probably the 20th most indebted state in the country today. Their fiscal position is extremely poor, and I doubt that because of again, I think about 72% jump in the borrowing by the state. The state is today constrained to even undertake additional borrowing because of the Fiscal Responsibility Act. So I believe that the state is not working. Under this government, this state has not worked, and that presents a significant opportunity for a party like the All Progressive Grand Alliance to make its mark.
Yeah, but the problem, of course, is that you're reeling out for us problems that most people know about. I mean, people are aware that there are problems.
Okay.
The big thing here is the solution. Obviously, as a government, you can't provide sort of all the jobs and all the opportunities and so on, but you can share your vision. What is that vision, and how is that likely to translate to opportunities?
Okay, thank you so much. So first of all, I'm very, very big on leadership, the quality of leadership, your capacity to lead, your integrity, okay, your competence, right? Leadership, everything rises and falls on leadership. It doesn't matter what aspect of human life that you're looking at. So the first thing that the people of Enugu State can be sure of is that I'm ready, and I believe that my exposure, my experiences, my education positions me to be able to provide strong, credible leadership, a leadership that you can trust. The second thing that would happen is that I would institute the processes of governance. This has happened in our state before, and things moved seamlessly because you know, the process of governance were properly streamlined. Of course, the other thing that you want to do is, I recognize that government cannot provide all the jobs that are required. Governments are not meant to provide all the jobs that are required in any place, but government can, through its policies, through the conduct of government business, through the right incentives, through the right regulatory, by creating the right regulatory environment, attract businesses to their state. It is these businesses that will create the kind of jobs that would satiate the needs of young people, most of whom are out there. Now, in the last 7 years, I want to know from you, also from Enugu, Charles, so don't pretend like you don't know what is going on there. If you are aware of any business that has come into the state in the last 7 years, please, I want you to name it. So you can understand why the unemployment figures will be as high as it is today. Jumping from 18% just about 2 years, about 3 years ago, to about 31% today. Okay? So governments must create the right environment for businesses to come in. If you don't create that right environment, the people that the existing businesses are leaving, or the existing businesses are scaling back, and new businesses do not want to come back. And I'm aware of several initiatives, several moves made by different people, both foreigners and even indigenous of Enugu, to bring businesses into the state, which was frustrated over the last 7 years for reasons best known to the ruling party.
Well, but of course, some of those frustrations are things that are difficult for anybody. It doesn't matter what the governor is, or who the governor is. I mean, let's take, for example, there's so much concern in Nigeria and beyond about the threat posed by bandits and armed gangs in this country, not to mention insurgent groups like IPOB in the southeast. Sometimes it seems like the security services have been overwhelmed by them, and that the people are slowly giving up to these armed overlords, if I might call them that. How do you intend to beat them, even as families in Enugu and across the southeast continue to bury sons and daughters?
Well, so thank you very much. So I do not dispute the pervasive sense of insecurity across the country, right? But my position is that it does not exculpate a governor, a chief executive of a state, from responsibility in ensuring the security of lives and property.
Yeah, but I'm asking you, what are you going to do if you were the chief executive?
Yeah, so if I was the chief executive, there are two ways to look at it. The first way to look at it is this: what are the underlying causes of these insecurity? So what you find manifest as unknown gunmen, as kidnappings and all of that, are symptomatic of larger problems: failure of leadership, failure of economic leadership, failure of social leadership, failure of political leadership. That is what is manifest there. So clearly, in order to really tackle it from the roots, it means that you need to pay attention to issues around socio-economic development. Number one, investments in education infrastructure, for instance, investments in health infrastructure. But most importantly, you must make concerted efforts by putting in place the right policies, the right incentives to make your state the destination of choice for investors. It is these investors that must create jobs that will help you to empower the teeming population of our young people. That is what you must do, and that is at the root of the matter. On another level, you must then take mitigative measures against miscreants, criminals, who, no matter what you do, will do what they want to do. And how do you do this? There are security agencies whose responsibility it is to work with government to ensure security of lives and property. But you and I also know the significant challenges that these security agencies face. So as state governor, you must then consider very seriously a partnership with these security agencies. You must consider how you can support them with equipment, with incentives, and with words of encouragement. You must also seek very, very strongly to really engage the people and let our citizens understand that government cannot do this alone and that they have a role to play. Criminals are not ghosts. Criminals are not witches or wizards, as some people think. These are normal human beings that live with us. And so the citizens must also really play an important role in routing these criminals. So I've outlined for you 3 steps that can be taken in a very robust way that can actually bring about stability in any state like Enugu.
When you were the Director General of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, you accused state governors of not being accountable for the monies they receive from the federal government via the Federation account. And you said, quote, "I wish something will indeed happen to Nigeria's oil. Let there be no more oil today." That suggests that you don't think that they are innovative enough. Does that include the current governor of Enugu State?
Well, for me, I made that statement in my capacity as former Director General of Nigerian Economic Summit Group, and my views have not changed. I believe that with significant, I believe that there are significant leakages within our system. I believe that any honest governor, any honest leader in the public sphere who is disciplined, who is God-fearing, who is innovative, who really understands what governance is about. And what is this governance? It is about the people. It's about everything that you can do to bring about improvements in their living condition. I believe that such a governor or such a government can really bring change to his state and to his people, right? So that discipline is so important. You understanding that the public resources are public resources. They don't belong to you and your family and your cronies. It is for the public. It is so fundamental. It is so fundamental and will clearly make the difference between success and failure in the administration of any state. Indeed, the administration, whether it's a ministry, whether it's a family, whether it's a local government, whatever you want to do, however you choose to apply it, it is very, very important that you have disciplined leadership, accountable leadership.
Right. You also said that there is an over-attribution of responsibilities to the federal government by the state governors. That suggests that you are an advocate of some form of restructuring.
Absolutely. Listen, there are two ways to look at it, right? Under the current arrangement that Nigeria finds itself, where we are today, I believe that state governments can do so much more. Let's take Enugu State, for instance. Is it the federal government, is whatever is happening at the federal level, is that the reason why there's no water in Enugu, for instance? There hasn't been water in Enugu in the last 7 years? Is it because of the federal government of Nigeria? Is it because of the federal government of Nigeria that the streets of Enugu have become one of the filthiest streets some of the filthiest streets in the country? Is it because of the federal government, for instance, that youth are unemployed? Is it because of the federal government of Nigeria that, say, primary school teachers have been on incessant strikes in the state? The answer is no. It is a complete failure of leadership at the state level. It is the inability of the state government to really provide to discharge its responsibilities to the citizens. That is the reason. And that is why I say to you that this often attributed responsibility to federal government, and I'm not in any way saying that the federal government has no role to play. For instance, macro security is the role of the federal government. I don't take it away. Issues around macroeconomic policy, macroeconomic stability is the federal government. But there's so much more that any state government worth its salt, any state government that has capacity, there's so much more that it can do to really manage the significant, to mitigate the risk that is run by the fact that you have a federal government dealing with macroeconomic stability, you don't have control over it, and then overall macro national security, in that sense.
Well, I mean, you talked quite a bit about the federal government there. Yes. I wonder how you can push things like some of the macro things you were talking about when your party, APGA, has very little representation on the federal level, because that's where a lot of the battle lies, isn't it?
Yeah, so there are two fronts to look at it. Of course, as governor, you're going to be sitting in the National Economic Council, right? Which is a statutory body, okay, where the federal government consults with state governments on the economic management of the nation. That's where also things around security are also discussed. So you're going to be there. So you have opportunity to speak up for your state and for your people right there. Then don't also forget that we have at least, or we're supposed to have representation at the National Assembly level. What they are doing is a totally different matter. And that is for the people to decide the quality of representation that they have there and if they're happy or not with it. But it is these combined levels of government that actually should actively seek to promote the adoption of policies that will help to bring about improvements in the living condition. Okay? So that's really what it's got to be. So our party not being in too many states is not really, but we're about to get some more right now.
Well, we'll have to watch and see.
Yes.
But of course, as you know, I mean, the fact is that for you to do some of the things that you propose to do, you obviously have to win the election first.
Absolutely, yes.
How do you assess your opponents from the other parties that are ranged against you?
No, I've often said, Charles, listen, I mean, the flag bearers of other parties are people who are very well known to me. And I know them, some of them are friends, and I honor them, I respect them, okay? But
you just want to be the governor, in preference to
not just want to be the governor, but I believe that the range of skills that I have, I believe that the range of the significant exposure I've had across government, I believe that I have superior ideas in terms of how to manage a state in a very difficult time, as that in which Nigeria currently finds itself, and the very significant headwinds that actually await Nigeria in the coming months and years.
Well, I have to say that it's very interesting talking to you, particularly looking at your eyes and the way they animate when you speak, because obviously you're clearly very enthusiastic about what you're talking about.
Yes.
I want to thank you very much indeed, Frank Nweke Jr., governorship candidate for the All Progressives Grand Alliance, or APGA, in Enugu State. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Charles. Always a pleasure to be with you.